We often think we know what a man looks like when he's in love. Pop culture tells us two stories. He's either the stoic, silent provider who represses his feelings, or he's the commitment-phobic bachelor who has to be dragged to the altar. But when you peel back the layers of cultural conditioning and look directly at the biology, the neurochemistry, and the evolutionary history, a completely different picture emerges. The science suggests that the male brain is not detached. In fact, it is arguably the more romantic of the two genders. Studies show that men actually fall in love faster than women and are more likely to be the first to say, "I love you." In this video, we are going to deconstruct the psychology of a man in love. We aren't looking at poetry. We're looking at the MRI scans, the hormonal shifts, and the evolutionary pressures that wired his brain. We'll cover why his testosterone actually drops when he commits, why he tries to fix your problems instead of just listening, and why, contrary to popular belief, men often struggle significantly more than women when a relationship ends. To understand a man in love, you have to look at the engine room, the brain's reward system. When a man falls in love, his brain is essentially hijacked by the ventral tegmental area, or VTA. This is an ancient part of the brain, the same region that lights up when someone uses cocaine. It floods his system with dopamine, creating intense focus, high energy, and obsession. This isn't just an emotion, it's a drive. It's a goal-directed state. He isn't just feeling love, he is chemically motivated to pursue it. But here's where the male biology does something fascinating and counterintuitive. We tend to associate masculinity with testosterone, the hormone of aggression, muscle mass, and libido. And in the early stages of lust, testosterone is indeed running the show. However, as a man transitions from seeking to committed love, his biology recalibrates. Research comparing fathers and committed partners to single men shows that committed men experience a significant drop in testosterone levels. This isn't an accident, it's a biological trade-off. High testosterone is great for competition, but it's bad for empathy and nurturing. To turn a hunter into a partner and father, the body downregulates testosterone and upregulates oxytocin and vasopressin. This chemical shift literally softens him. It reduces his drive for mating effort, seeking new partners, and redirects his metabolic energy toward parenting effort, protecting and caring for the partner he has found. So, when he seems to soften around you, he isn't losing his edge. His biology is optimizing him for long-term loyalty. Evolutionary psychology calls this the shift from appropriation to production. In our ancestral past, men faced a social dilemma. They could spend all their energy fighting other males for status, or they could invest energy in providing for a specific female to ensure their offspring survived. This is the root of what we call the provisioning model. Love evolved as the mechanism to keep a man committed to that investment. This deep evolutionary history explains one of the most common complaints in modern relationships: the fixer mentality. You know the scenario. A woman comes home and vents about a problem at work. She wants empathy, but the man immediately jumps in with solutions. Why don't you do this? Why don't you call your boss? It feels dismissive, but psychologically, he is engaging his instrumental support system. Because his evolutionary role was to provision and protect, his brain rewards him with a hit of dopamine when he solves a problem for you. He wants to be useful. This is often referred to as the hero instinct. It's not about ego, it's about agency. A man feels most loved when he feels effective, when his presence makes your life visibly better. If he feels useless or unneeded, his psychological attachment to the relationship actually weakens. He doesn't just need to love you, he needs to be of use to you. So how do we know when he's truly crossed the line from attraction to deep attachment? We look at his language and his self-concept. Psychologists measure something called cognitive interdependence. It's the mental shift from me to we. Research shows that committed men begin to spontaneously use plural pronouns, we, us, our, instead of I and me. It sounds simple, but it represents a massive structural change in the brain. He no longer sees himself as an autonomous unit. He sees the dyad, the couple, as his self-identity. However, getting to that we stage can be a bumpy road. Men are frequently socialized into avoidant attachment styles. This means they are taught to suppress vulnerability and value independence. When intimacy gets too intense, a man with avoidant tendencies might use deactivating strategies. He might pull away, focus on your flaws, or idealize a phantom ex just to create a safety buffer. Crucially, studies show that even when these men look calm and detached during a conflict, their physiological stress markers, heart rate and skin conductance, are skyrocketing. They aren't unfeeling. They are just working overtime to suppress those feelings to maintain control. Because men are often socialized to be less verbally expressive about vulnerable emotions, you often have to read the subtitles of his body language. There are 3 major biological tells that a man is in love, often before he admits it to himself. First, look at the feet. It sounds strange, but we have a subconscious behavior called the toe point. We align our feet toward high-value targets. If a man is talking to someone else, but his feet are pointed at you, his attention is actually on you. Second is mirroring. This is driven by mirror neurons. If he takes a sip of his drink when you do, or leans in when you lean in, he is unconsciously trying to synchronize his physiology with yours. And third, the eyes. It's not just about eye contact, it's about the pattern. Men in love engage in the eye dip, a triangular gaze that moves from eye to eye and then dips down to the mouth or body and back up. And if you look closely, his pupils will dilate. That is an autonomic nervous system response to arousal and interest that he cannot fake. This brings us to the most sobering part of the research: heartbreak. There is a pervasive stereotype that women are the emotional ones who fall apart after a breakup, while men just go out for a drink and move on. The data says the exact opposite is true in the long run. Men often suffer longer and experience more severe health declines after a breakup than women do. Why? It comes down to the emotional resource gap. Women typically maintain a diverse network of emotional support: friends, sisters, mothers. Men, however, often designate their female partner as their sole confidant. When the relationship ends, the woman loses a partner, but she keeps her support system. The man, however, loses his lover, his best friend, and his entire emotional safety net in one day. Furthermore, men often use distraction coping mechanisms, working harder, gaming, or rebounding, which delays the grief processing. This is why men often hit the wall months later, when the distraction wears off and the silence sets in. The psychology of a man in love is a story of integration. It's a biological journey from the dopamine-fueled rush of the chase to the oxytocin-induced stability of the bond. Far from being simple or unemotional, the male experience of love is a deep, structural reorganization of his life, his hormones, and his identity. He may not always say it in the way you expect, but the science proves that when a man loves, he loves with his entire physiology. Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of human behavior. See you in the next one.